have a guest we need to connect to. Thank you there. So the expanse of this war only expanding, the theater of war only expanding and getting very close to where India is concerned. I am joined right now by Ambassador Jeremy Issacharoff, former Israel ambassador to Germany and the Vice Director General and head of the Multilateral Directorate of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Issacharoff, thank you for taking the time off and joining us this afternoon. My first quick question, with what you see as an escalation, sir, of crisis, what will lead to, what political benchmarks, what specific military benchmarks will signal an end of this conflict? Because there seems to be no end.
Well, first of all, I think I fully agree with you. I think it's not just a matter of using military force, but also thinking of the political framework that will ensue as a result of debilitating and hopefully destroying the Iranian capability to launch missiles anywhere, whether to Israel or to any of the Arab countries surrounding it. And also to what extent they can neutralize the Iranian capability in the nuclear area. And I think these are the two key factors that should be looked at. But I think it's also important to think of how the IRGC, the Basij, the elements of Iranian power internally are also weakened. And I think that should then provide an off-ramp to some political discussion of how we go forward. And hopefully by then, responsible Iranian leadership would emerge that would actually represent the Iranian people and not this fanatical regime which has existed up till now.
Jeremy Issacharoff, you've been an ambassador to Germany as well, of where Israel comes into question. The kind of reactions we are getting in from, the NATO countries. While Germany has been sitting on the fence, not entirely with this conflict, we've had a country like Spain which has completely taken, a stand defiant to what is really going on, where this joint operation between Israel and America is concerned. Many other countries very uncomfortable as we see the theater of this war expand.
Well, yes, in Europe you can see there's a range of opinions on the spectrum from Germany, as you mentioned, which has been quite supportive. Friedrich Merz was in the Oval Office with President Trump only two or 3 days ago and supported the operation against this, quote, terrible terrorist regime. The French have been saying a bit more qualified that this is a military operation outside of international law, and the British have only recently agreed to allow some of their facilities abroad in Cyprus and also in Diego Garcia to be used for defensive purposes. So the European attitude is varied. There is an element of support. They realize the danger of Iran becoming a nuclear power and the threat that it presents to the Middle East, also to Europe, and also to Western Asia as well. And therefore, so we're seeing how this goes. But frankly, they are not, fulfilling a very major role in this whole operation. And I think it's important to continue to look and see what is happening on the ground in the Middle East with the Arab countries and how all of us are beginning to come to a regional defense mechanism that is defending the various countries from these missile attacks in a coordinated way. In a sense, Iran is becoming a catalyst for the Israel and the Arab countries to make their relations much tighter and much more coordinated.
Ambassador Issacharoff, because there is a humanitarian cost to all of this, and that's what I started off. What is the end? What is America and Israel, according to you, are the benchmarks for the countries that will signal the end of this conflict? Because like I pointed out, where international humanitarian law is concerned, how does one continue to justify the kind of civilian lives that are being lost in this conflict?
Well, I would hope that, first of all, that civilian lives that are uninvolved and not connected to the regime, every step is being taken to avoid any loss of life in that context. But it's very, look, I am not an official. I've retired almost 4 years ago. But my feeling is that, it's not just about using military force, and you can't secure a change in Iran just from the air. And I'm not implying that we need to introduce ground troops, but I'm implying that we need to have a political off-ramp that where you begin to have a discussion and find a way of stabilizing the situation. At the end of the day, having seen the demise of Ali Khamenei, this is a major opportunity for Iran for the next 2 or 3 generations to change its leadership. It's a major opportunity for the region to re-stabilize and re-secure its contacts. And I think it's a major opportunity for Israel. The bottom line is the answer is not just going to be found in the use of military force, but also in terms of engaging diplomacy and other political measures that can induce a political framework that will be stable and secure and emanating from this war.
Ambassador Issacharoff, how do you, view Israel react if Iran continues to retaliate militarily, which it is doing right now?
Look, we will defend ourselves against any attacks, and the Israeli population is very well disciplined. We get a warning of a launch in Iran, and then if we see that the missile is going to enter a particular area in Israel, then another supplementary siren is sounded and people go into the shelters. And so there's a lot of discipline here. On the other hand, we have a very effective missile defense.